It is, yay!
Horror versus Junwi. It's going to be our first ZVZ of the day. This group was
Final
2
match.
Zerg, 2 Protoss, while Protoss is actually the favored race right now by most people in the current metagame of StarCraft 2. 2 Zergs did come out, not too surprising because IM does have very, very strong Zergs. And the first map of today will be Icy Cup Test Bug.
Alright. Well, here we go. It's Junwi spawning as our Red Zerg player down at the bottom of Icy Cup Test Bug. His opponent, of course, who else would it be other than I Am Horror? There he is, spawning as our Blue Zerg over at the 2 o'clock position. Well, more like 3 o'clock position on Icy Cup Test Bug. I was never very good at clock positions.
Yeah, and you don't really need to be. Everything's digital these days, so...
That's true, yeah. I mean, analog clocks are like the hipster cool thing to do now. Well, anyway.
Or, if you go to a nerd school like I did, it's the, what was it?
What?
The binary clocks.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Binary.
Yeah.
I've seen those. I used to be able to read those. I used to know binary. Of course you didn't know that. I've told you that before.
I can decipher binary. There's usually a 0 and then sometimes a 1. And then sometimes a 1-1, maybe a 0-1.
I see that. You know, you actually did a lot of computer programming, didn't you, before you dedicated your life to StarCraft?
Yeah, it's an old life. I'm kind of happy to be out of that for now. Might go back into it depending on how things go, but right now esports is taking off, and I'm very interested in helping that happen in whatever possible way I can.
Sweet.
So now I'm here over in Korea, trying to make sure they realize that the Western world exists.
Yeah, I think the big thing is it will be if you survive. I mean, it sounds like some other players are out to get you in certain soccer matches, so you'll have to be very, very careful. Whoa, speaking of being very careful, it looks like our Red Zerg player is not being careful. Going for a hatch first in a ZVZ, it can pay off, but it is pretty dangerous, especially if your opponent goes gas and then pool first. He's going to have those speedlings up. He can get banelings very, very quickly. So, I don't know, already we do have Junwi, that's Junwi, isn't it? Yep, Junwi, possibly playing a little bit risky there. I don't like to hatch first in ZVZ, I don't know.
Well,
I feel scared.
It seems dangerous, but the thing is it does give you that extra creep. You can get a spine crawler down for defense. You can also get that extra larva to be able to produce a bit more speedlings than your opponent. You're delayed a little bit in your spawning pool, which can also delay roaches if that's what you're going for. But if you can survive past a few minutes without losing too much, it actually ends up balancing out quite well in your favor.
You know, now Junwi really opening a lot like Ness T would, where he's going that hatch first without doing any sort of scouting at all. And on a map like this, I mean, where there are only 3 positions, that does make you a little bit prone as a Zerg player to something like that 9 pool all-in that we saw Damaga beat Ness T with on Zelnaga Caverns. So it's one of those things that for a while the hatch first has been very, very popular on the Korean server, but lately players have been saying, well, if he hatches first, why don't I just not and then be really aggressive? So we're starting to actually see it move away a little bit more, but some of these tip-top Zerg players are still trying to make it work. So we'll have to see if it does pay off for Junwi or not. A few Zerglings coming in right now, but it looks like Junwi has plenty of them, one actually getting surrounded and taken out. And now Junwi will be able to chase those Zerglings out of his base right now. Roach Warren going down as well for Junwi. Zergling speed almost finishing right now for Horror.
Yeah, and once Zergling speed finishes, he is going to be able to get a few banelings out there and hopefully do some sort of run by. The roaches are coming out for Junwi, so if he can block the ramp, he's going to have a huge lead with this second hatch out much earlier than Horror's.
Yeah, it might pay off. It certainly looks like it could. 2 banelings being morphed. And for those of you who don't know, you only need 2 banelings to take out any amount of Zerglings that are nearby, just because the amount of damage that 2 banelings do is enough to kill everything there. Or really every Marines. I think actually 1 baneling is enough to kill Zerglings.
So he does see these roaches coming down. He might decide to back off. He does need to do a little bit of damage, but he doesn't need to go for the kill move right yet, because he did get an expansion himself.
That's right. So Horror possibly just playing a little bit aggressive, but ultimately just trying to keep himself safe. He knows that in terms of just army versus army, his is a little bit weaker right now because he doesn't have roaches. Some players will actually skip the baneling nest altogether, go straight for roaches. just to kind of try to pick off the banelings if they do move in and then expand very safely, get upgrades and kind of out-macro your opponent.
Yeah, and these roaches are hugging up against the hatchery. It allows them to defend without overextending too much. They can't get surrounded. They can also back off and defend the ramp if they need to, so there's no run-by. Like Horror was just trying to do. That is going to cost him a few Zerglings, is going to counterbalance the advantage that he had by building them a little bit earlier with his earlier spawning pool.
Now, Horror is producing 10 more Zerglings right now, but another Roach and a couple Overlords on the way for Junwi as well. So, Junwi, let's take a look at the Army tab. I want to see who is ahead right now. Army tab, that's the counting station. Torch.
It shows the Army. Just got to do quick math.
That's not me. I told you I was an art major earlier. Do you think I can do math? Can't do math. Alright, so it looks like Junwi a little bit ahead, of course, because he did get that hatch first upgrade going. So that will give him the slight advantage in terms of army and a huge advantage in terms of economy. The expansion for Horror only now just really getting mining, although Junwi did have to spend a lot on units early on, too.
Yeah, Junwi did spend a lot on units. Horror was able to get up a few extra workers right in the beginning of the game, so that gives him a slight ability to counteract this tech advantage that the Roaches have for Junwi.
Alright, that's actually a lot of banelings coming in from Horror right now. If he can micro properly, he could do quite well. But it looks like there are Zerglings coming in from behind. The Queen getting surrounded there, and there's plenty of Roaches. The banelings all going after the Roaches. They do soften them up, but banelings against Roaches are not really what you want to do. Horror getting in there, surrounding some of the Roaches. He may have enough. No, I don't think he will with the banelings, or with the speedlings rather, of Junwi coming in. Yeah, and I think that went much, much better for Junwi than it did for Horror.
Yeah, if you take a look at the lost tab, there's 400 extra minerals of units lost for Horror.
All those banelings getting wasted on the Roaches, that is exactly what you don't want to happen with that.
That is very true. None of the Roaches actually got taken out by those banelings either. They got softened up so that the lings could come in and take them out, but it's not really what you want to be doing at this stage in the game. You want to try to keep the any sort of interactions on more the even level, try to get up a few extra workers.
Oh, speaking of workers, I see two workers that aren't doing their work, just kind of sitting there for a moment. Junwi did have to pull them to kind of get them away from the banelings, but a little bit of a misclick there. That'll hurt his economy ever so slightly. Oh, now at the same time, some Zerglings getting into the base of Horror.
They are going to get cleaned up pretty quickly, but it did do a little bit of mining time damage, but the main focus of that is just to get in and see exactly what's going on. He sees that there's no layer going up. There's only the baneling nest and the roach warren, so really, Junwi's in a pretty good position here.
Yeah, he's not doing bad at all. He actually was a little bit behind in the gather count there. It looks like there's some roaches moving into the natural of Horror, and that's a good amount of roaches too. I don't know if he's going to be able to defend against this. It looks like he's going to lose his hatchery at the same time. Ling's trying to get back from Horror to help, but there's really not any that would really do much good for him. And Junwi may be able to do a lot of damage here. I was about to say take the game, but that's a good amount of drones coming back to help reinforce. He's going to need to pull back. A lot of drones being lost right now for Horror. Maybe two queens as well.
Yeah, both of those queens... Oh, no, one got a transfuse off right before it died, so we kept one of the queens alive. However, losing one is still a pretty big deal at this stage in the game. Every little transfuse that you can't use is going to hurt you.
Yep, and now Junwi's basically just able to walk all over the other Zerg player. Looks like Horror's in huge, huge trouble right now. Drones against Roaches, I definitely put my money on the Roaches. Even though they're softened up a little bit, or bringing in some Zerglings from behind as well, some more drones. Trying to take out the Roaches from the front as well, but his Roaches are even more softened up than Junwi's are. The expansion's been taken down. There's a GG. Junwi takes game one.
Yep, Junwi going up to an early lead here. He did get that fast expansion. Did seem a little risky, but he was able to defend it nicely with the roaches, and then from there able to counterattack with a nice roach-ling force as Horror was just trying to macro up.
Yeah, so pretty exciting. ZVZ. Hatch first really did work for Junwi pretty well. I still think it's kind of risky, but then again, I don't play for IM, so I'm guessing Junwi's probably got a little bit more experience in ZVZ.
Junwi also being a Brood War pro.
That's
so
true
he
as
does
well.
have a lot of experience in ZVZ, going back many, many, many years.
But still not drone scouting, so that does kind of have some... There are some holes in that opening that could be exploited.
It's very true.
Yeah.
But the Korean players generally play very similar a lot of times, so once you learn the style, you can kind of just do the exact same thing over and over again. You don't really need to scout. But that's where foreign styles come in. Demago is able to take the first ever televised win against Nest-T, which if no one's seen that, definitely go check out the World Championship games. They are free.
Yeah.
You can get them at gomtv.net.
Yeah, amazing, amazing tournament. The Team League was phenomenal. The 1v1 was equally phenomenal. So yeah, don't miss those. They are free. And of course, thanks for watching. This is the Clash of Houses brought to you by CSN, that's Cyber Sports Network. Again, I am Doa, casting here with Startail Torch. We are casting Junwi versus Horror. Let's see what Game 2 has in store for us. It's going to be on Metalopolis. Let's jump right in.
Let's do that. So we got I Am Junwi in the red at the top position on Metalopolis against I Am Horror in the blue. They are close positions. This is one of the Blizzard versions of Metalopolis, so they don't have the close positions canceled off like they do in some of the newer versions that are used in New GSL and in MLG and a few other things.
Yeah, so we're still going to see some close positions, regular old Metalopolis for these players. Both players playing around, between 200 and, wow, almost up to 500 APM right now. For Junwi, is that really necessary? But again, that's a former Brood War player for you.
These overlords are so slow that you really need to constantly give them commands. So if you get up to 500 APM, they do respond a little bit faster.
You see the blimp down there? You see all those advertisements on the blimp? I've talked about this before. What about putting advertisements on the sides of overlords? They move slowly. People can get a good look at it. Yeah, look, a lot of room there. Yeah, look at the side. You could put a billboard on there or something like that. Like McDonald's, Coca-Cola, they sponsor IM. Maybe their overlords could have Coca-Cola logos on there. So huge marketing opportunity being missed by the Hive Collective. So
that is very true. They could make a lot of money there, but they don't really use money. They just kind of absorb everything in the world. I don't know why they mine these minerals here, since they don't really go to anything in the army.
Well, maybe they do. Maybe they're maybe inside the hatchery the minerals are broken down into Zerg paste, which is then formed into larvae. I don't know where I'm going with this.
That's alright. So we do have a fast expansion going out from Junwi again. The spawning pool from Horror was a little bit faster, so he is going to be able to get out these 6 wings early on, and is going to be able to put on some very, very fast pressure. He does know that the expansion is up. He does know that they're in close position, so he's probably feeling quite good about this opening right now.
Now, I'm Horror is attacking, like you said, with those Zerglings, and there's not a whole lot of defense for Junwi. In fact, his spawning pool isn't done. Here's the danger of going hatch first. I can't believe he did it. In close positions, he does cancel the extractor right away. He's going to need all those minerals for drones and Zerglings once the spawning pool does finish. The Zerglings, though, trying to cause some damage. It's still a good amount of drones. One getting surrounded there. And really, if Horror wanted to, he could bring in a drone or two to put down some spine crawlers as well. I believe that expansion was canceled. So Junwi really put on the defensive this game.
Yeah, and you don't want to be that far behind this early in the game. He is going to be producing 6 Zerglings, so if he can get those out, he might be able to fight along with these drones to be able to defend. But in the meantime, he's going to get 0 mining time. He's going to have to run these drones around there, taking free hits from Horror. So, not a good position to be in if you're Junwi.
Those drones taking a lot of damage, although not a lot going down. And now that the Zerglings are out for Junwi, Horror might be... looks like Horror might actually be able to clean it up. Yeah, those Zerglings somehow getting very, very low, and somehow Horror comes out on top. More Zerglings coming out for Junwi, though, but Horror is going to try to pick off a couple of the weaker drones. And after that, what does the income tab look like?
Well, the income's not... Ooh, actually, it is pretty
good
bad.
for
There
Horror.
was a new wave of drones coming out for Horror. He also does have this queen out a little bit earlier, so he's getting the larva injects, so he can produce even faster than Junwi. However, Junwi does have a queen out as well, so he is able to macro back up.
So Junwi getting his gas. He's probably going to want to get that Zergling speed as soon as possible. Horror already getting it about a third of the way done, so Horror just really, really far ahead this game right now. 5 drones is a huge, huge difference in ZVZ. So we'll have to see if he can capitalize on that. A lot of drones being produced right now for Junwi, but that's basically what he needs to do. He needs to try to catch up, possibly try to re-expand, but at the same time, he has to try to defend as well. Those Zerglings not really able to do a lot, of course.
And the speed's going to come up quite quickly. Unfortunately, the Roach Warren is out. If the Roaches can get on the ramp quickly enough, then Junwi will be able to defend against this. But I'm not sure it's going to be out in time because the speed is coming out quite quickly.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to have Roaches in time if Horror decides to push. That Queen's still chasing those Overlords, and that is actually a big deal as well. Losing Overlords at this stage in the game in a ZVZ, as you can see, supply blocked pretty badly. That just means he has to spend more minerals on Overlords, he has to spend more minerals on drones, or those were minerals rather that could have gone to drones. And now lots of Zerglings with speed. Things are looking pretty good for Horror. He may try to surround that Queen. He certainly does. Not enough Zerglings to defend. Expected GG anytime. There it is, GG. And Horror takes game 2.
And what's interesting is this is actually 1-1 in this set, but also Horror and Junwi are actually playing to see who's first in this group. So this last game is really going to determine all of who comes out to face the winner of Group B.
Yeah, this is a pretty important game. The whole group stage coming down to one game.
We are getting these last replay queued up for you guys, just so you know this is being casted from replays. You don't want to try to make the Koreans wake up at 7 a.m. like we do.
Yeah, we do okay, but I don't know. Pro gamers aren't used to waking up until like noon or 2, but I gotta say I'm kind of getting used to that schedule myself.
Yeah, I would like to be on that schedule right now.
So if we sound a little bit tired, that's why. I personally did not really sleep last night. I kind of tried, didn't work out. Hoping to get some sleep before GSL.
And you couldn't sleep because you were excited for the awesome games we are going to have later. I think you'll be perfectly fine once you get into the casting seat. The bright lights get on you.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Although if my eyes look bloodshot, you'll know why. Don't think anything else.
Well, they can't think anything else. It's Korea. Everyone's
Well, all our
pure
viewers
here.
aren't all Korean.
That's true. They should be.
What?
Because even if you're not Korean-born, StarCraft, you should have a little Korean inside you.
I guess so. Like piloting you like a giant robot or something? Or just like in your soul? I like the piloting like a giant robot idea myself. Alright, so game 2.
Game 3?
Game 3. Good morning. It's Junwi versus Horror. Alright, it's going to be Xel'Naga Caverns. Let's see who comes out on top in Group A in this incredible miracle in-house tournament. Here we go. There is Junwi spawning as our Red Zerg player at the bottom of Xel'Naga Caverns, and his opponent, of course, the winner of our last game. It's going to be I'm Horror spawning as the Blue Zerg player. Now, Junwi, I don't think we're going to see Hatch first from him this game. I think he's going to have to play it a little bit safer.
Yeah, he did get pretty unlucky with the close positions of Metalopolis last game.
And he didn't scout.
And he didn't scout until later. Yeah, that was a double thing that combined to be perfect amount of trouble for him.
The perfect storm.
The perfect storm, yes. Perfect storm of close position Zerg. But this game, they are both... got a little bit of money being saved up here. There's no Overlord. We have a 9 spawning pool coming out for Horror. He's deciding, hey, Junwi might actually fast expand again because it seems like he does that every single game in ZVZ. So he is doing that mind game like we were talking about before of how Damaga took out Nesty because he knew that Nesty always fast expanded. If Junwi doesn't fast expand here, though, that's... And he's not fast expanding.
He's not going to fast expand. He's going to have a pull down at a somewhat normal time, so he's got kind of the best chance he could hope for of holding this off. And it doesn't look like it doesn't look like Horror is going to do like that crazy 9 pool all in with the spine crawler that we saw Damaga do against ST. It looks like he's going to do something a little bit more standard, which is basically just really early Zergling aggression. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to come
6
down to whether
Zerglings.
these first 6 Zerglings are going to be able to do any damage. If they can't, then Junwi's going to be in a huge lead. He is going to have a bit more workers going on, which, as we saw last game, is going to really exponentially increase as the game moves on.
Well, here's the thing, is that if Horror does decide to go and pull his drones, he can basically win right now. I mean, drones plus 6 Zerglings plus that Spine Crawler is kind of an auto win. Even at something like that, it looks like there are 4 Zerglings or 6 Zerglings or so being produced by Junwi. Oh no, only 2. Oh no, it is 6. I was looking at the wrong one. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's quite all in. Drones being produced by Horror. I don't know, I just love that 9-pool opening that Demaga did. I that's why I talk about it so much. It's so
And
great.
it is something that is kind of rock, paper, scissors. If you play against a fast expanding Zerg, build order wise, it's going to win. Obviously, it still comes down to Micro, who's going to be able to pull it off perfectly.
Right.
But in this situation, it's slightly in favor of Junwi. As soon as he gets speed up, it's going to be very much in favor of Junwi, since he does also have a higher economy. He is getting that queen out, so he is going to have the extra larva. However, Horror's queen is already out and already injecting larva. He's trying to get a second queen for a little bit of extra defense, as well as the ability to transfuse both queens and try to move into an expansion as soon as he gets these roaches out.
Now, a little bit of a shift coming from our Blue Zerg player. Instead of going for Banelings like he has other games and kind of playing super aggressive, he's going for a Roach Warren. It looks like he may decide to try to play it safe. I don't think the Roaches are going to be out in time to meet those Zerglings that Junwi is sending across the map. But then again, Junwi could just be trying to poke in, cause a little bit of pressure while he expands, and there is actually the expansion from Junwi. So indeed, this is just to try to get Horror to make a lot of units instead of drones, just so Junwi can get that economic advantage.
Yeah, but this expansion was scouted. Unfortunately for Horror, he did lose an Overlord, so he was supply blocked momentarily, but he will be able to hold this somewhat easily. He's going to lose a lot of links here, might actually lose a queen. Few Zerglings are going to get in, get the scouting, know that Roaches are on their way. Horror should not be pulling the drones like that. He does lose a lot of mining time, loses a lot of money, and it screws up how many workers are on the gas if you're not paying enough attention.
Only 1 worker on gas right now, so if he does plan on making a lot of roaches, that's going to hurt it really badly. Queen rushing back to inject. She's like, oh, I forgot to inject. I have to run as fast as I can on creep.
It's better than not running on creep.
That's true. Well, you know, there's signs up when you get on the creep that says don't run on creep. It shows like a picture of someone slipping and falling. Creep, very slippery, of course. Have to be very careful.
But only for Zerg.
Or really anyone. I mean, Terran players, they don't do too well on creep. They slip and slide, get killed by banelings. Mostly the banelings are the thing you need to worry about. Falling down isn't so bad. Looks like Queen's blocking the ramp. Nice job allowing those roaches to fire from behind. Great transfuse going down on that one Queen as well. So right now, Horror playing extremely well. Junwi also, though, playing extremely well himself, and he does have his expansion up. So right now, Junwi, as soon as the probes kind of start being, being produced a little bit more, Junwi's going to be in a pretty good position.
Yeah, he definitely has the economic lead. He is very safe. He does have Zerglings at the front to know that there's no expansion coming out from Horror. However, Horror did just get his layer up. He is going for Burrow. Hopefully he can use that to somehow get himself back in the game. He needs to do a little bit of economic damage and then be able to set up an expansion, and then it'll be back on even footing.
Yeah, Burrow being researched by Horror right now, so it looks like he may decide to go for Burrow movement with Roaches, which is something that we see every once in a while. It's kind of tricky. Yeah, there is a Burrow movement. So, yeah, a little bit of an interesting play, too. I really like watching players like Horror and Seed play. Just the fact that they're trying all these new sort of crazy things is very cool. It's nice to see some deviation from the norm, especially in the Korean scene. There's not a whole lot of that, so very cool to see.
Yeah, and these Zerglings are preventing the creep tumors from spreading. As soon as it goes up, they try to run out there and kill it. However, this one might be able to finish in time.
It's getting close. And it does finish instead, so the Zergling's running right over top of it. The Overlord's like, come on, guys, you just barely missed it. It was right there. Overlord's so disgusted it's going to float away. Junwi getting a good amount of roaches himself. More roaches, actually, than Horror has.
So Junwi does have more roaches out. He is going to be at a lower tech because he's still only on hatcheries, but it's not really going to matter too much because he's going to have that overwhelming force. Sure, if Horror micros perfectly, he can burrow anyone that gets hurt, let it regenerate very, very quickly, and then come back up and fight more. He is supply blocked momentarily again, but is going to be able to get more overloads out and be fun.
Yeah, the interesting thing with burrowed roaches in ZVZ is you can almost do sort of a blink micro type thing where you just burrow one, let it regen, then unburrow, fight, burrow, like that. Looks like though he's moving out underground. Is he going to be able to pop up in the middle of these roaches? I don't know if that's a good idea, even if he is.
He is outnumbering them by 1, so if he does fight right now, he does actually have a slight advantage.
No.
Oh, this would be perfect. He's going to cut off Junwi's roaches right now.
But
the Zerglings come in.
Oh, wow. Burrowed roaches again. The Speedlings getting caught up behind the roaches. Although those roaches really can't unburrow or they'll die. Things looking really, really good for Junwi right now. Horror, all the roaches stuck back on the ramp. The Zerglings getting in after the drones. This is a disaster for Horror. And I think Junwi's going to take this game pretty easily because that group of roaches is not going to be able to take on the army of Junwi.
Yeah, that is very true, and he does have a ton more Speedlings on the way, so these roaches are able to do some pretty nice micro here, but it doesn't really matter because all the drones are stopped mining right now.
Burrowed too, though. Saved a lot of them.
He's saved them to live, but even still, he's at half the drone capacity, and he's not mining at the moment. He just got back now because he could force the roaches out. Roaches of Junwi out of the base. However, Speedlings are here. They're positioned to be able to run by in case he sees these roaches move across the field, which he does. And there goes the run by. I think that's going to signal the GG as soon as these roaches of Horror are not going to be able to do any sort of killing blow here.
Well, he does at least have Burrow, and he did at least kill the Queen. There is the Overseer there. She will be able to see. Suddenly it's just she, I guess. But that thing right there will be able to see all the Zerglings. In the meantime, a bit of a base trade going on right now. Spawning pool going down. Roaches burrowed, but it's not going to help anymore because the Overseer can't see them. GG, and Junwi is our winner for Group A in the Incredible Miracle in-house tournament. Clash of Houses. Very exciting for